hello again, dear ones. Reverend Robert with you. This is the growing edge. I don't have an animation yet. We only have one promotional image so far, but I have a mighty idea. And that's what I want to share with you here today. The growing edge is an idea that has been lying dormant, I think, for quite a long time within me. And there's a part of it that we're going to explore together over time. So thank you for being with me. If you're here live, I really, really appreciate you, because that means you're part of the New Thought Media Network, and you're here to be a part of what we're doing and what we're creating. And that is in and of itself part of what the growing edge is all about. Now, for quite a long time, I have been a devotee, if you will, of the visioning process. And the life visioning process is brought forth by Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith of the Agape International Spiritual Center. Back then, he was part of the United Centers for Spiritual Living, is what the organization was called, and so was I. And I was introduced to the visioning process at a early stages of my experience and my initiation, if you will, into this philosophy. I guess I don't want to use that word initiation, but it definitely presented itself early on in my spiritual experience within New Thought and religious science and the science of mind. And as a newer practice, number one, that intrigued me. Number two, the depth that I was able to go to, the revelations that were coming forth, the visions that were emerging, even in my very earliest experiences with the practice. There was always that question of, what am I becoming? What are we becoming? And along the way, that became the growing edge. And I often use that terminology when in my visioning practice. And if you're with me on Monday mornings on the Monday morning visioning program that happens Mondays at 7 a.m., you'll know that I use this concept of the growing edge a lot. Now, I didn't pull up the quote for today, and so I'll paraphrase that. One of the greatest forms of community is a learning community. And I was speaking to a dear friend recently about this, that being in a learning community is a very, very unique experience. When everybody is intentional and working together in education and learning, in growing and expanding, not as individuals, yes, but not only for the individual, but in service to something greater, something amazing. I feel I had the best experience of that. One of the greatest experiences of my life of that, when I first stepped inside a New Thought church, and a New Thought, which we rapidly became a center. But it held the name church at the time. First time I walked in, it was the Salt Lake Church of Religious Science, and remained that way for a little while. And I was already in leadership by the time we changed the name to Center for Spiritual Living. So I'm one of those firm believers. If we're not growing, we're dying. And I have no desire to punch out early. I have no desire to give it up and go hide. I am called, so deeply called, to continue to learn and grow and explore. And that's what we're going to do on this show. My intention is to be true and real and authentic and really real with you. This is what I'm studying. This is what I'm working on. These are the growing edges. in my life, in our ministry, in the New Thought Media Network, and I trust in your lives as well. Now, some of the topics as I go over them may not seem like they fit, and that's okay. We want this to be interactive as well. So if something's not landing, let us know. Let me know. Feel free to be part of the exploration, because what I know is you're going to grow in your way and I'm going to grow in my way, and everybody else that catches any of this is going to grow in their way. And if we're all growing together, then we've all got a chance of becoming the greatness we are here to be. I often, and this is a long and circuitous piece of the puzzle as well. So I invite you, if you would, for a moment to picture an aspen tree. I was born and raised on the East Coast. On the East Coast, we had birch trees. And while the bark and the tree look very similar and the same, the leaf is different. And I came west, and I left the East Coast. And I left the eastern mountains and the woods and the mountains in the east, and I left and I came west. And some of the earliest memories of being in the West and knowing that this is where I'm meant to be was sitting in a cabin that no longer stands and looking out a window at an aspen tree, and having a woman who would become a dear friend and mentor share with me a deeper meaning of the aspen for her and what it meant, and how the changing of the colors. And I didn't realize in that moment how instrumental that imagery would become throughout my life. And it has been throughout my life. Skiing, on mountain bikes, hiking, camping. If there's an opportunity, you're going to find me in the aspen trees. Watched a rainbow splash into the aspens on the side of Buttermilk Mountain one afternoon. Who was that cool to see? Throughout it all, the aspens remain, and the aspens remain one of the largest organisms on planet Earth. And they do so not because they have deep roots. They do so because they stand in community. See, the roots of an aspen tree don't go very deep. They're connected. Their strength is in their number, and they can withstand, and they bend, and they sway, and they move with the winds. They don't try to buffer against the winds. The biggest trees are the ones that get taken out by the biggest winds. And that's why it's rare to see giant aspens. Because eventually, no matter how tall or how strong an aspen becomes, or how long it's been around, or how much it anchors a community, eventually every tree falls. The strength, the opportunity for each individual tree to become strong and grow strong and become a vital aspect of the community comes in our connection, in their connection, in their oneness. This network that we're building, New Thought Media Network, is a network to mimic, to demonstrate that same natural principle in the world, human form and organization. In a way, yeah, I know it gets pretty high, it gets pretty big sometimes. It gets pretty wow. And I'll tell you, folks, I can't turn it off at this point. And I couldn't if I would, if I could. I wouldn't if I could. I can't turn off this vision of what's emerging. I'm hanging on. And I'm hanging on to a lot of things that I've learned over time, over so many classes and so many workshops and so many conversations. And sometimes it seems laborious, and why am I doing this again? Why are we doing this again? And And I constantly remind myself that why is not a valid question. Why only leads to because. What do I want to do with what's here? In my journaling this morning, there was a line, and today was our journaling practice on right in the morning. If you're just tuning into the network, if you're just finding us somehow, uh, Monday morning we do a visioning at 7 a.m. Mountain Time. Tuesday morning we do a journaling practice. We call it the Mystic Writers Hangout. And you don't need to be a mystic, and you don't need to be a writer. You just need a journal and a pen. And in my journaling this morning, I've totally now lost exactly the example I wanted to give you. So let me open it and we will find it. It's part of the beauty of this program. I don't want to read the whole thing. Oh, well. I've lost it now, folks. That is the growing edge. That is how it happens. Sorry, I lost my point. Because okay, so let me get back into it. This is not scripted. This is not. I don't have notes. I'm not trying to teach you anything. What my intent is to share with you some of the things that have been instrumental in allowing me to get to the point where I am. Because of all the various things I've learned and things I've forgotten, what I know the most and what I trust is what is necessary for me in the moment shows up in the moment that it is necessary. And if that's happening for me, that's happening in all of our lives. That the things that are necessary, the people, the connections, the opportunities that are necessary show up in our lives exactly as it's necessary. I want to give you an example. I have in my hand here a book. Some of you may be familiar with it. It's the 365 Days of Richer Living, Daily Inspiration, Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker. Now, if you look at this doesn't look like any other one of these you've seen on this network, huh? Because there's a number of our show hosts that will share from this book, and I've seen this book in so many places, and I just never got a copy of it. I just never picked one up. So I decided, okay, 2021, this is my year. This is the year to dig into this book. And I've been digging into this book as we go. I use other books. In the creation of a learning community, I'm going to be sharing with you all kinds of books. Things that have been instrumental and things that I'm going to draw upon in these conversations on Tuesday mornings. You'll be here Tuesdays at 10 for the foreseeable future, unless my ratings are so bad that, they kick me off the network, and that might happen. Another book I use is 365 Science of Mind, just by Ernest Holmes. And now I will tell you, if you're younger than I am, I sometimes find these books a little tough in their languaging. These guys are all dead now. They were writing all of this long before the world, where they still believed they had to gender their writing in order to be respected. And it's interesting because so many of these men speak to the inclusivity, but rarely speak to gender. And so trying to read these books from a gender inclusive perspective takes a little bit of translating. I'm going to attempt to do that with you as we move forward. Because while I want to respect the authenticity of the writings and the authors and the shoulders who I stand upon, the greats of whose shoulders I stand upon, I do want us to start to let go of buying into that's the way it was and that's the language that was. and start to speak in a more in an absolutely inclusive language. It may not always be easy for all of us, and I'm going to challenge each of us to do that throughout this program and all of our programming and throughout this network, because together we're going to learn how we're going to grow together, and we're going to learn how to step into this new vision that's emerging. And I want you to know there are other books and lots of things. I'm going to pull out a couple of them right now that uh, I've got a handful of things I want to go over with you today before we're done. And we're a little over halfway there. So, two of the books that came along in this journey and that to this day guide and direct so much of my thinking and consciousness. The first is The Untethered Soul, Michael Singer. Yes, that is a unicorn. Isn't that cool? You pick it up at first and you think it's a horse, and then after a while you look at it, you go, wait a minute, that's a unicorn. The Untethered Soul. And his second book, The Surrender Experiment, The Journey into Life's Perfection. The story that Michael Singer lived. And the story that Michael Singer lived very quietly, very much according to a perspective of learning, growing, surrendering, and if anything, saying yes. I've always loved the fact that he started with 5 acres to create a meditation shack, and ended up with, I don't know how many hundreds of acres it became. It is still there and still growing. And all by a simple process that I don't have to know how and I don't have to know why. And if a property becomes available adjacent to the property we own, then we'll buy it. Don't have to know how, don't have to know when. And throughout his books, he chronicles some of the amazing ways that the community that is vital, so vital right now to the evolution of human consciousness, created itself. New Thought Media Network, I believe, operates in many of the same principles, and we may not know it. And I believe I think I know it. I think I see it all. I think there's a blueprint on how to create a new organization, a new type of spiritual organization. Yes, a community, and yes, an organization developed with intention. And we're going to grow into how we have the conversations that are necessary to do that. Another book I have here. That's not it. Where'd it go? Oh, I must have left it somewhere else. Are the intersectionality of what I believe is New Thought and business philosophy. There's a gentleman out there, Frederick Laloux. Amazing concepts on how to build organizations, how to grow organizations, how to nurture community-based organizations that operate under some amazing principles, self-managed teams primarily. We're going to talk about things like that as we go. A couple of them that we're really going to talk about. Sharif Abdullah's Creating Works for All. This, my friends, this. I just did a talk that included some of this and what Sharif teaches us. Now, you don't have to go out and buy all these books immediately. Trust me, I'm not. We do have an Amazon Smile account though, so if you want to get some, I'll put some links up. And if you purchase through our Amazon Smile account, then the nonprofit, then the organization gets a little something from Amazon. But this book, I am going to encourage you to go get. The Trance of Scarcity. And I do have a link, and I will share a link in the comments of this right after we're done, or here before we're done. I'll grab the link. I didn't think of doing that beforehand. I can go grab it. The Trance of Scarcity by Victoria Castle. In this, she talks in a very, I found, easily approachable way. And I was first introduced to this book. Oh, wow. Probably 2008, 2009, something like that. Let's see if we can find a quick. Sometimes I put the date in the front of a book as to when I read it. This says copyright 0607, which would put it for me probably around 8, 9, 08, 09, 10, 12 years ago now, whatever that might be. In that, she speaks of the circle of belonging. And that's what I want to speak with you about next week. So next week I will have a little more of a plan for you, because I think this is a great place to jump into this conversation. I have never in my life been able to grow and learn if I didn't feel I belonged, if I didn't feel I truly belong within that community. And I have found myself in places where I didn't feel I belong, and I wasn't learning much of anything except the quickest way out. Because this deep sense of belonging is, I believe, key and instrumental to each one of us, to our growth, our evolution, our ascension, if you will. Don't know where that word came from. But I know that I'm growing, and I know I can't stop. And I know I don't want to. That's what New Thought Media Network's about. There's a term that I learned probably more than a year ago now, because it was before the pandemic. And it came from a woman who, if you have not heard of, now is probably a great time to go catch up on all of her past stuff and really binge. Marie Forleo. Marie Forleo speaks predominantly to a business audience, but she definitely speaks New Thought. And there's no question about it. And she doesn't do it as a spiritual teacher or as a spiritual learning. She does speak to spirituality and individuals' experience of spirituality. And she speaks on success. And she interviews some amazing people. And she's appeared on Oprah. And she provides an opportunity to learn a crossover for a lot of people. Now, Marie has developed for herself her own network of media and entertainment and interviews and podcasts and this. And what I know is someone like Marie is an anchor aspen, is a pillar amongst this mighty grove of trees. And she doesn't have to align herself with anyone. She doesn't have to create a cadre of people aligned with her. My perception is she stands knowing she is fully aligned with the divine and with the one, and stands as a great expression of the oneness that we are all part of. And what I know is that I know if she can do that, then I can do this. And if I can do this, then you can do what is yours to do. Then you can do what you're being called to do. Whatever that might be. It doesn't have to be huge, doesn't have to be grand. Doesn't have to be the biggest, mightiest aspen in the grove, because that big, mighty aspen would fall in a minute if it weren't for all the other aspens holding it up. What I know more than anything, and what I'm growing into more than anything every day, is that deep realization that deeply we are one, and that everyone is absolutely vital, no matter how much I may not see their beauty, no matter how far on the other side of the grove they may be from me, philosophically, no matter what, I know there is the deepness of the oneness that we are. And that as long as I keep growing, then I'm gonna surround myself with people that are growing, that want to learn a little more, that want to explore a little more, that want to have a conversation, that want to look at this or that or the other thing and say, hey, let's do that together. Let's go do that together. So that's about all I got for you this week, folks. I can't guarantee what this program is going to be every week, week to week. But what I can promise you is that I will show up, and I will bring the edge. I will bring the growing. I will bring an opportunity for us to be together and explore what supports your growth, what supports you in the next great yet to be of your life. Because I know I'm going to be doing that for me. So we might as well just do it all together. Create a community of learning. uh, with love and light. I see probably Brother Diego in one of our Facebook groups asking when we're going to play around a disc golf. Could be a few other people that are asking that question. Perhaps it's Joe, perhaps it's Mark, perhaps it's somebody else. We shall play disc golf soon. I was out the other day for 3 holes. Not a great 3 holes. A little snowy. All right, enough of that, folks. I'm going to get out of here. I invite you to keep coming back here on the New Thought Media Network. If today is your day to say thank you financially and support this network with your gifts, your tithes, your offerings, thank you for doing so. The donate button is in the description of this program. We're going to be back here on the network in about an hour and a half, noontime, for Treasures from the Tao at 12 noon. And then later today, remember, we also do New Thought today at 2 o'clock Mountain Time. My brother LZ and I get together for a rousing talk. And today we're going to have a great guest. The Rev. Dr. Ken Gordon is going to be with us, former spiritual leader of the Centers for Spiritual Living. Dr. Ken will be with us today for an hour as we talk about what we believe. And then this evening, real excited for this evening as well. We've got a one-time event. Our own Rev Z is going to be interviewing Sekou Wrights, the director and producer of a new short film, Test Driving While Black. And we will also have the host, the star of the show, if you will, Marius Rush will be with us as well. The film is a short 9-minute film. We'll be screening the film and having a conversation with both the director, Sekou Wrights, and the featured of the film, Marius Rush. Reverend Z will be presenting that. That's at 7 o'clock Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 o'clock on the East Coast. This is a one-time only showing also, folks, so the viewing will not remain online. Contractually, we're going to take this down after the program, so there will not be an archive of this program. So you've got to join us live tonight, 7 o'clock, right here on the New Thought Media Network. Please do join us. Please do bring a friend and invite a friend who will invite a friend to this as well. All right, I'm gonna get out of here for now. Keep joining us all day long, and we will be back with this new program, The Growing Edge, next week, Tuesdays at 10, here on the New Thought Media Network. Until then, peace and blessings.